Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
ICC Georgia re-elected Fady Asly as its chairman this week. The Checkpoint extends its congratulations to Mr. Asly and wishes him and the ICC further success. Meanwhile, the Checkpoint talked to Mr. Asly about the state of Georgia's economy and prospects. Let us start with the double-digit growth and Fady Asly's evaluation of current figures.
10% economic growth is normal when we are flooded with funds coming from Russia and with Russians coming here and Ukrainians and Belarusians opening companies, hiring, developing their business because they're just escaping their countries. So 10% is a normal figure, and I believe that we will have 10%. But where we disagree with the government is about why we are having this growth. They're saying that it is thanks to their very wise economic policies. It's not thanks to their wise economic policies. It is a lotto ticket that won for Georgia because all those guys are coming and transferring their funds. You know, if I'm not mistaken, up till now, about $1.2 billion have been transferred this year from Russia to Georgia, which is like more than the whole amount of foreign remittances that we had 3-4 years ago. So this gives you an idea why the economy is growing. And to put things into perspective, to give you an example, you know, in Armenia, they're going to have 13% growth this year. At a time before the war, they were expecting 1.7% growth. So, and this is what the National Bank of Armenia said, that they were expecting 1.7% growth, and they're going to have 13% growth thanks to the influx of Russians into Armenia. So, but at least the Armenians, they had the decency to acknowledge the reason for the increase in economic growth. Having said that, this is very good for the country. I mean, the longer it goes, the better it will be because it will create more jobs. It will increase the power of purchasing power of the people. You know, I mean, the key is to increase the economic growth. But having said that, we cannot rely only on this. Because what if tomorrow the peace is signed between Ukraine and Russia and the hostilities stop? All those guys will go back. This means we will be back to where we were in 2020.
Here is what the ICC Georgia chairman believes is the main challenge of the country's economy.
It's trust. You know, there is no trust. No one trusts anybody. Neither, you know, the Georgians don't trust each other. The opposition doesn't trust the government doesn't trust the opposition. Investors don't trust the government. So we have a very serious problem of trust. And unless we reverse the trend and people start trusting each other, there will never be a proper economic growth in the country and proper development of the country. You know, you cannot build a country on hatred. Everyone hates everyone else. We cannot build a country based on hatred. This hatred needs to stop. So, you know, there is a serious problem of trust. And, you know, foreign investors don't want to touch Georgia anymore. I'm not speaking of the Russians who are coming because they have no other way to go. But I'm speaking of serious foreign investors. No one wants to touch Georgia. For 10 years, they have been, you know, attacked by the government, not protected by the government. Their residencies were canceled or were denied. You know, you cannot work in an environment like this environment.
Next, Fady Asly's analysis on what is the main approach of the government to tackle the challenges.
Main approach of this government is a social approach. Why a social approach? Which is not a bad thing, I mean, to take care of social issues. But they should not be the only things that are developed and invested in, because this government has never come with a strategy or with a policy that serves the interest of the country. They come with a policy that is self-serving, their own interests. what can keep them in power the longest period possible. Of course, if you subsidize the grapes and you subsidize the apples and the citrus, all the farmers will be voting for you, but you are weakening the country because you are encouraging people to grow things that lose money, where they are not competitive. And this is what the government is doing. Then when you come with sterile social programs, you borrow money from abroad and you spend them on punctual social programs. Of course, people will be happy, okay? I mean, if you subsidize their medicine or give them money every month so they stay at home, of course they will be happy, but you are drowning the country in debts. So, I have nothing against social programs, but they should be part of the bigger picture. They shouldn't be the bigger picture themselves because they help the government to stay in power because everyone is happy, everyone is. It's like you have a child and you know you give this child all the time candies so that he doesn't cry, okay? Yes, he doesn't cry and he loves you because you give him ice cream and candies. But what kind of health is he going to have in 10 years? He's going to be diabetic, sick all the time, and this is exactly what the government is doing.
What could make savings grow in Georgia? Here's Fady Asly's take on the issue.
First of all, I think that the lari will remain at the level it is. I mean, it will not change dramatically because still we are receiving remittances. Now, the danger for the lari will be if those remittances will slow down. The export will not increase very much, but the imports will keep on increasing. Then the trade balance will be very big. And those foreign remittances will not be enough, and the exports and foreign remittances will not be enough to offset the difference in the trade balance. Today we are about, up till last month, I think we were minus $6 billion. Minus. This means that we have to cover those minus. From where do you cover them? You cover them from the foreign remittances that are coming. You cover them from the exports. And you cover them from FDI, foreign direct investment. There is no FDI coming, very little, okay? I mean, except those Russians that are putting money here in Georgia. Foreign remittances can stop anytime or decrease anytime, okay? And if they decrease, then definitely we might have a more demand on the dollar than we have now, and this will increase the price of the lari will devalue, okay? So this is the danger, but I don't see this happening immediately. Now regarding inflation, we have two factors. One factor is international. It is due to the supply, the break in the supply chain, okay? The problems of the supply chain after the COVID. Yes, the prices went up dramatically, and this has affected inflation everywhere. But we have our own internal inflation that is due to those Russians who are coming here and other, Ukrainians, Belarusians, and they are creating a very big demand on things. And this is increasing the prices. Like the price of rent has increased by 70% since the beginning of the year. 70%, which is, pardon?
In Turkey, the inflation
yes.
historic number.
Yes. So the demand on the goods, on the food, because we have 200,000-300,000 more people in no time here. This is increasing also the prices up. Now, inflation from outside could be controlled and it can decrease because there is a kind of it's stabilizing somehow. But the inflation that is due to organic reasons inside, this is more difficult to control because it's a big load in a very short period of time. So although the National Bank says that they believe that inflation will go down to 3% or 3.5% by the end of 2023, I'm not as sure as they are.
how to improve human capital. Here's Fady Asly's take on the issue.
That's a real problem. I mean, many Georgians have left Georgia. I mean, as far as I understand, like hundreds of thousands have left. Okay, maybe this year I heard 100,000 of people have left, which is a terrible number. This means that people, you know, when people leave their country, they don't leave their country only because of economic hardship. They leave their country because they don't believe in the future of their country. And this is the most dangerous thing. So you need to keep the people here. To keep the people here, you need investors. You need investments, because they are the ones who employ people, investors. And then the salaries will grow. So we need to open up for investments. We need to create political stability. We need to have a national reconciliation where people believe that their country can move forward. It's not going to be this kind of hatred and polarization between groups of people in the country. And today what I have noticed is that we have already immigrant workers here. You know, I order from Glovo every day. And the last few days I saw Indian guys working for Glovo, and it was very surprising for me. But this means that there is a real shortage of workers here. And in case the trend continues like this, even investors will not come here anymore, because, you know, if they cannot find labor, then they will not invest in the country, you see? So the government really has to stop this wave of emigration from Georgia by, you know, by giving hope to people, by keeping him, by opening for investors the doors wide open, so people can find decent salaries, because it's a matter of offer and demand. The more demand you have on the workforce, the higher the salaries will be. And, you know, I mean, Georgians always say we are losing our culture. If you don't want to lose your culture, then do something that people don't emigrate. Because, you know, the Georgians who emigrate, they stay abroad for 10 years, then they come here with a Western culture, okay? And they are the ones who are changing the culture, because they have been exposed to another culture.
And finally, some projections and outlooks from the largest chamber of commerce in Georgia on the strength of lari and inflation.
When there is stability, and there is political stability, internal and external, the lari would remain stable. When the lari is stable, people would save in laris. But when there is political instability, people would be worried to save in lari. They prefer to keep their money in foreign currency. So this is one. Two, you know, I believe that the most important thing to do is to develop a stock market here. Okay, that's the most important thing to do. Now, you know, people keep their money in the banks, and the banks are, you know, lending this money. But if people would have access to the stock market, that we have a modern and a vibrant stock market, then people would not keep their money in the bank to get 2% and 3%. They will move the economy by investing in the local stock market here, you know, in the local companies that are listed. So I believe that this is a very important thing to develop, as a matter of fact, but there is a conflict of interest, because the banks don't want to develop a stock market, because then the people will not put their money in the bank. They will be investing in the stock market, okay? And the owners of the stock market today are the Georgian banks. So they are killing the stock market on purpose, because there is a conflict of interest.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.